Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Septian Dwi Ardiyanto and I'm going to retell the story of this novel, The Spook's Blood. This book was written by Joseph Delaney and it is the 10th series of the Seventh Son, if you know what is it, guys. And this book has 364 pages, and let me tell a little bit about the plot of this story. Well, the story of this novel is about John Gregory and Thomas Ward, who had to fight dark creature from Romania, namely vampire. And let me show what is it. This vampire. In this novel, this is vampire, and let me show this one, vampire. Haha, interesting, right? Well, without further ado, let's start the story. Story begins with Thomas Ward, who was so worried about Alice was going alone to help Greenwillow without his knowledge. Besides, Thomas' mentor named John Gregory planned to go to Todmorden along with Thomas to buy some books from Mistress Frasque, which invite them to there because he knew that John's library was destroyed since the battle in the Chimpeden. However, Thomas wanted to buy time to wait for Alice to return first. A few days later, Alice returned and brought a bad news at the same time, which they had to protect the Malkin Tower from the sight of demon servant and help Lamia defeat them, because there was a chest containing Thomas' mom's very important sacred objects, which was used to defeat demon forever. Therefore, Alice and Thomas went to the Malkin Tower as fast as they could together. Meanwhile, John Gregory was waiting for Thomas to return home because they had to go to Todmorden as soon as possible. A few hours later, Thomas and Alice arrived, and they immediately went straight to the fort to see the surroundings, and they also immediately met a Lamia named Slake. Slake gave one of the sacred objects in the form of a dagger to Tom, and she told him that the last sacred object was stored in the darkness, and only Thomas' mother knew about it. Then, at night, according to what Slake said to Tom, that Thomas' mother would appear on the tower to tell the detail about the last sacred object. Without any further ado, Tom's mother went straight to the point. To get the last sacred object that Tom must sacrifice for someone he loves, who was still alive, namely Alice. Hearing that information, Tom didn't believe it. Before long, Tom's mother disappeared. A few moments later, Alice approached Tom, who was thinking about his mother's words. When Alice asked what happened, Tom immediately said what his mother said, but he covered up about the ritual sacrifice to defeat demon, because he didn't want Alice to return to the darkness. After Tom and Alice finished their business, they decided to return to Chimpeden to John Gregory's house. Then, after they arrived, Tom told everything to John. without exception about the sacrificial ritual. Since John disliked Alice, without thinking, he immediately asked Alice to return to the darkness, but Tom forbade because he believed that there was another way. In the next day, when Tom and John wanted to go to Todmorden, Alice decided to ask for a couple days to think about what John said yesterday, and she wanted to meet Grimalkin as well. A few days later, John and Tom reached an area on the Todmorden called Benland, which was the location of the Mistress Frescue's house. After a few walks, they saw a futuristic and strange house. After a moment, Mistress Frescue appeared, who opened the door afterward, and she immediately invited them to enter and go to the library room to choose the books John wanted. Moments later, John Gregory's interest turned to the book titled Dormitory, which contained terrifying powers. And Mistress Frescue's face turned to anger, and she said that it was not for sale. And she also gave an alibi John might believe. Even though John Gregory insisted on getting the book, she still refused, because John realized that something wrong, that he had a strong feeling about her, about Mistress Frescue. He decided to come back again tomorrow morning. In the next morning, John and Tom come back, and John decided to choose the books, while Tom went looking for horses and charts to bring books to the Chimpanzee. However, when Tom returned, John Gregory disappeared, and Mistress Frescue's house became creepy. Full of panic, Thomas rushed to find out what really happened. Later, he learned the fact that Mistress Frescue and the entire Benland area were the headquarters of the vampires. It surprised him because he had never fought and met a vampire before. And Mistress Frescue was the mastermind behind all of this. Additionally, she planned to resurrect the vampire king named Siskoy to free the demon who was trapped by Thomas' alliance. Therefore, Thomas immediately called Alice to come as soon as possible, because he realized that he couldn't do it alone. Long story short, Alice and Grimalkin came, and Grimalkin carried sack containing the heads of the demon. This situation made Thomas even more confused, because Mistress Frescue did all of this for the demon's head. In short, through the help of Alice and Grimalkin, with John's former student named Jude Brinsicle, Tom managed to save John, who was apparently hidden in one of the oval pits near the slope of the mountain. Then, they decided to return to Chippenham as soon as possible, because there wasn't sufficient preparation for them to fight the vampires. A few days later, they managed to return to Chippenham safely, and they rushed to anticipate a sudden attack by the vampires. A few days later, with careful preparations, Grimalkin, Alice, and Tom decided to come back to Mistress Frescue's house to thwart her plan. to perform the ritual summoning of Siskoi at the midnight. After they arrived, they immediately entered the library room and saw the witches performing a ritual. After the witches was ready for performing the ritual, Thomas, Grimalkin, and Alice immediately at the same time cleared the 5 witches, include Mistress Frasque. However, they were too late. Siskoi was summoned, but he wasn't perfect. Therefore, they decided to follow Siskoi to thwart his intention. Without thinking, Tom decided to go into the oval pit to kill the container for Siskoi. However, he was too late. Siskoi had come back to life. Tom had a fight with Siskoi. However, after a long fight, Tom managed to kill Siskoi, but he lost consciousness because Siskoi drained a lot of Thomas' blood out, and Siskoi died because of Thomas' blood. 3 days later, Tom had awoken and he felt very, very helpless when Grimalkin told him that Alice went to the darkness to retrieve the third sacred object alone, and it took several days to return. Tom was scared if she turned to evil again when she returned, because Tom had to kill Alice the way his mother said if it was happened. However, knowing the situation was safe, Tom decided to return to Chippenham, even though Tom's condition was still weak, and Grimalkin decided to continue her run to keep the head of demon safe until Alice returned and got 3 sacred objects and gathered them to kill demon forever. Tom returned to Chippenham. He was immediately appointed by John Gregory to be the successor of the Spook's Chippenham. So he decided to keep the peace around the Chippenham while waiting for Alice to return from her mission, since he realized that he couldn't defeat strong enemies without Alice's power. However, he was sure that what came next was more dangerous than Siskoi before Halloween night, the time when demon must be annihilated. That's the end of the story. Alright guys, that's all the story I can give you all about this novel, about the story of this novel. I hope you enjoy my video. Thanks for watching, and sorry for the mistake I have made. Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.